So welcome to the very first official VGOSTRAM podcast. Our first one didn't count because it's bad.
It was more like a episode 0 that no one will ever see.
But to begin, I'm your primary co-host, Cody, or Camlicker.
I am your second co-host, Giraffe. You can follow me at Twitch Giraffe, twitch.tv/Giraffe, or on Twitter at Giraffe.
I'll put the links up in wherever I can fit them. And we have a special guest today on our very first podcast.
Yeah, my name's Andrew, also known as OsirisCon. I don't have any links.
Okay.
You could see my favorite videos on my YouTube channel, I guess. It's public.
He is off the grid.
I'm off the grid.
All right, so to get things started, the very first game we picked is A Link to the Past, which is a very popular game, even to this day. And we picked it because it's easy to do, and it's my favorite Zelda game, even to this day as well.
It's also got a really nice soundtrack.
I played it once.
I've never finished it, but that's neither here nor there.
Exactly. I'm just here for the music.
All right, so the very first title that we're going to go over is the title theme. And also to note, in the future episodes, we're not going to be doing the entire soundtrack because most games have a lot of music, and there's not enough time to go through every single one, but this one is short enough, so I'm making an exception. First, starting up, we have the title theme, which I don't remember, but was it in Scott Pilgrim? Or was it just...
I think it was just the little intro. Except, like, before this little part, like, cuts into it, like, where the thunder and everything strikes. Thunder.
As for a title theme goes, it's good for 1991. There's not much, like, really to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's simple. It pretty much does what it needs to do. It just introduce you to the game.
It serves its purpose. It's literally just the title, like, you turn on the game and it shows up, right?
Unfortunately.
So this is the actual opening, which is Seal of the Seven Maidens. And this is what plays at the beginning, like after the intro, and jumps into the story, showing like the past, what happens. And this actually might be my favorite song in the game. It used to be Dark World, but listening to this now, there's a lot going on.
It's actually a pretty bold statement for the very first song compared to, like, there's a lot of good bangers within the soundtrack.
Oh, there is.
I mean, the song also serves the purpose of being foreboding and, like, kind of easing you into what's going to be a very dark game.
Well, and there's some unease to it because that very strong staccato, I find it kind of grating. So I don't know, it makes me a little uneasy.
Yeah, I think because it does the job of needing to not be happy because it's not a happy Zelda game.
Oh, exactly.
Fun fact, this is the first Zelda game which takes place in the bad timeline, if that's even still relevant these days.
I mean, kinda. I mean, it all goes back into the same timeline later on anyways. We'll just see how that goes with the next Breath of the Wild game.
So another interesting tidbit about this song in particular, a lot of people don't realize this, but this song is actually used as a motif in the Song of Healing from Majora's Mask.
Oh, really?
It's there. It's like a different timing to it.
Oh, okay.
But
I just know that the percussion gets used very often.
Percussion?
Or is it percussion?
oh, it's staccato.
Yeah, staccato. That gets...
It gets used a lot in the soundtrack.
All right, moving on to the next song, which is possibly one of the most well-known Zelda songs ever.
Beginning of the Journey, for those unknown.
So I know this song was in Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, for sure this one was.
Specifically this version, too, because it's been used a lot.
So this is the first time the fairy theme is used in Zelda?
No, I don't think so.
No?
I believe it was in the first game as well. But if it wasn't, then this would be.
Do the first.
Yeah, because Zelda 2 is when they had a completely different sound take on it.
Oh, that's right. There is Zelda 2, isn't there?
Yeah.
See, that just goes to show how much of a black sheep it is.
It's the side-scrolling adventure game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's completely different.
And I've heard it's not good. That's all.
It's
I've
not,
heard about
but it has a cult following. It's just because of how different it is.
Okay.
But getting back to the song itself, I mean, it gives like a sense of hope compared to the rest of the soundtrack. There's not very hopeful songs in there, so it's more like that light in the tunnel kind of thing to it.
There's some mystical quality to it too. Of course, it does become the fairy thing.
Aside from this song being popular, it's probably the prelude from like Final Fantasy, as like of levels of being well known. This is the title that everyone thinks of when they hear Zelda these days, even though it hasn't been relevant since, was it in Majora's Mask or is it just in Ocarina of Time?
I believe.
Ocarina, no, because
I don't think it is.
it was in Majora's Mask.
Was it?
No, Majora's Mask was completely
Like its
different.
own.
Like you can name it like most of the other ones. It just didn't have that song, if I remember right.
I don't think it does.
I want to say Ocarina of Time did have it, but it was just a remix version since it was on the N64.
But my point still stands.
It's very iconic. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's a staple within Zelda.
So the song after is your very first gameplay moment of the game. It's Time of the Falling Rain. And it's literally just Seal of the Seven Maidens, except it doesn't have the lead melody. So without that, it actually loses a lot of its, I don't know if you could say really hope, but there's like some kind of loss that makes it darker.
Pretty much it's, yeah, it uses the Seven Maidens theme. It's more sped up, so it's less foreboding, I guess you could say. It's more, yeah, it's more urgent, like something needs to be done.
I mean, it really just uses more of that staccato that,
You really hate.
I don't know if I hate it. I'm quick to hate.
You definitely don't like it.
I don't like it, but it serves its purpose.
And the next song is Hyrule Castle, which is also heavily used. Actually, I retract that. It is not heavily used. It is just used again. So this song plays as soon as you enter the castle from being underground. And it's this very grand, like kind of evil sounding soundtrack.
Yeah,
song.
it like for being in Hyrule Castle, which is supposed to represent royalty, it gives like a grandois like entrance, and then it goes immediately into something pretty dark or like again foreboding. Is pretty much what the theme of the game is. It's a lot of foreboding. Like there's something going to happen.
That's what when listening through it. Like, the first words that popped in mind is like a mix between adventure and opposition, which I guess is very much Zelda.
Yeah, I mean it's way before you really even know what the story is. Because this is like the first time Ganon well, this is before Ganondorf was created and it was still Ganon. But there was no mention of him at all at the beginning, I don't think, if I remember correctly.
Nope.
I don't know, yeah.
First clue you get is Agamemnon, which you later learn is just Ganon anyway.
Unless you have dyslexia, then you know it's Ganon.
And another thing about this song is that it's used as like a very slowed down version in Wind Waker when the king dies. If anybody knew that.
I haven't really played Wind Waker, so unfortunately I did not.
I mean, I've played Wind Waker before, and I never picked up on the classic like song before because I've never played it.
And moving on to the next song, which would be Princess Zelda's Rescue. Now, this is a song that would get people up in arms because this is like the Fairy Fountain or Save theme. This is probably equally, maybe even more, the more iconic Zelda song, since it's actually just Zelda's
theme.
lullaby.
Yeah, it's Zelda's lullaby before it became known as Zelda's lullaby, which is only due to Ocarina of Time is when it became more well known as her theme.
So I will say, I'm glad that a lot of music in Ocarina of Time started in A Link to the Past, because, man, some people can really get up their own butt about, like, Ocarina of Time is the best game ever because I played it first.
It is the best game because it's the first Zelda I played.
I mean, that's going to be for any game that gets you into a series.
Exactly,
They're always going to hold that first one. I mean, I like Link's Awakening because it was my first Zelda. I mean, it's clearly not the best, but it's one of my favorites.
Well, see, you know the distinction between it might not be the best, but it's your favorite, whereas some people just think it is the best, like no question asked.
Yeah, but then everybody else is wrong.
You also have to remember that a lot of these people also have never touched another Zelda game.
That's true. Some
Like the
people who
are
are
like
like
Final
one and
Fantasy
doneers.
VII. Like Final Fantasy VII is the best game ever, but I haven't touched a single other one.
But yeah, at least as for the theme, it sets like a really good groundwork for obviously what becomes Zelda's lullaby. You see everything that's there, that what they used for what gets used later on in Ocarina of Time, and then what gets improved upon. Obviously, you always have your basis, but you need it's a solid foundation pretty much, and then they just made it better in every subsequent use of the song.
Depends. You're pretty much correct. Although, one point for me is that in, the Final Fantasy main theme, not the prelude, but like the actual main theme where it's, really like heroic and happy. And Final Fantasy VIII, Nobuo Uematsu holds that the song peaked there and there's no more room for improvement, even though it was reused in 9, 12, 13, 15. He still holds that opinion, and that's pretty neat.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many adaptations that you could do to a song before it's like, well, there's not much more we can do it without changing
it.
type of song or genre. Like, you can have it still be the main theme, but like you turn it into like a country song, it no longer feels like that original theme.
It's a variation on it, essentially, at that point.
And for the next song.
Next song will be Safety in the Sanctuary. My personal favorite.
So this is a really weird song. So don't get me wrong. I like it. I actually like it a lot, and it's definitely one of the standout songs in the soundtrack. But Safety.
Yeah.
There's nothing about this song that screams safety. If anything, it sounded like you're more in danger.
Like you're hiding from something that's chasing you type safety.
Yeah, which is, I feel like this song drives home the fact that this is not a happy game. It's like most of the songs to this point have been dark, depressing. Like there's nothing that makes you have like a tone of hopefulness until Zelda's theme. Where like at this point so far, you've had one happy song. Everything has just been nothing but sadness. Because like if you think of like the beginning of the game, Link's, was it his dad?
Uncle.
Yeah.
Because who needs parents? But I mean, his uncle dies at the beginning. You find out like Hyrule's pretty much become a dungeon. Zelda's captive, and then you take her to this temple, and you have to find you have to find the 3 rings before you can even get to the Master Sword to hopefully save whatever's going on. And at this point, you still don't know what's really going on.
It's kind of like that what the song makes you think of is like the fear of the unknown is sometimes scarier than like what you're actually going into.
Yeah.
I find it kind of interesting that this is also one of the few games where you actually rescue Zelda within the first 10, 15 minutes instead of being like the end goal.
I mean, you technically have to rescue her twice, don't you?
Well, yeah, but you still actually get her and then like quote unquote save her. And then of course like a couple hours into it, she's back to being kidnapped. So I guess it really doesn't matter.
I mean, it depends. When you say a couple hours or a couple days, depending on how good you are playing this game.
To me, forever. Someday.
Yeah, I will. I will eventually give it a solid chance to where I play it from start to end.
I mean, you can easily do so now that it's on the Switch's Super Nintendo app.
Yeah,
and
I
you
just
can-
need to. There's too many games right now that I need to focus on and get through.
You don't get through WoW.
When do you finish
but
WoW?
it eats up a lot of time, and then I still need to go through other games.
I'm planning on picking up on the 3DS someday. Maybe on the way home.
Anyways, at least for the next song is Hyrule Field. It's Hyrule Field.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It's
as
classic.
classic as it can be.
This is one of the rare ones that actually began in the first game.
Yeah, I would say the original one was such an iconic song that, I mean, when they finally brought it back for this game, since 2 had a completely different field theme, I would say it probably brought a lot more people back, just because it kind of returns to the grassroots of the original Zelda.
And another thing is that this version sounds really great because now they're not bogged down by only having 4 soundtracks, and now they have 8.
And it's as good as you can get with the orchestral sound with the Super Nintendo.
Yeah. The thing that I think about this, of course, it's classic, but I've never noticed it being a march. It's definitely a march song when you listen to it.
So originally when I was doing research for making this episode, I thought that this was the version that was based on the Super Smash Brothers version, and upon listening to it, I was very wrong. It's changed so much that I don't know. I just felt kind of dumbfounded at how wrong I was.
You mean the original Super Smash Brothers?
Yes, the one with Hyrule Castle.
Wasn't it based off Ocarina of Times?
That's what I would assume so.
I thought Ocarina of Time didn't have Hyrule Field.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
But it didn't have that
The
theme. It
theme.
was just using, I think, the sound file.
Well, no. Well, that's what I'm saying. Is that, yeah, it has different sound fonts, but it's not in Ocarina of Time. So I thought it was based on the Link to the Past version. But if you listen to them back to back, they're not really close, except just the melody.
Okay.
Yeah, because from what I remember, Ocarina of Time does not have the traditional Hyrule theme. Whether it's the past or the Young Link version or the Adult Link, as I think they just share the same Hyrule sound.
It is funny, though, if you think about it, that you would think 2 games on the same system would share a common theme. Like, I'm pretty sure Super Smash Brothers came out after Ocarina of Time, so you'd think they would use that version of the Hyrule Field.
It's hard to say, because when you think of Zelda, there's, at least up to that point, there's very few songs that were continuously used, and for whatever reason, Hyrule Field up to that point was always the same. So just like, I think it was just more of a, we'll pick something familiar, because Hyrule Castle had completely different themes in each subsequent game also.
Well, before Smash, like how many Zelda games were there?
So there's 1, 2, Link to the Past.
Link's Awakening, if I remember
Okay,
correctly.
A lot more than I was expecting.
The Oracle games haven't came out yet.
Those are Game Boy Color.
Mm-hmm.
Should it just be those 4 then?
Yeah.
Well,
it should.
and then Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, and Ocarina. So 5.
Does this theme play in Link's Awakening?
No, it doesn't. Because it takes place on what is the island name? Anyways, it takes place on an island, so none of the traditional Zelda songs are there. Completely new soundtrack.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair assessment all around then. So the next song we'll be talking about is, I have no idea how to pronounce this.
Kakariko Village.
That one. This is another game or song that got started in this game. Now this song I know has been used to death, and for kind of good reason. It's kind of cheesy in the first half because it uses the 1950s doo-wop progression, which is so cheesy. But then it changes in the second half, which is kind of necessary but needed. And just all around, it's very calming.
Also, up to this point, not counting Hyrule Field, it is the second happy song.
It seems to be, maybe happy is a good way to describe it, but it's definitely more laid back than happy to me.
Yeah, I mean, Kakariko Village in every Zelda game,
It's always been safe.
it's always been a safe haven or just one of the most important destinations in that specific game. Usually when it's available.
Unless you attack the chickens.
Yes, unless you attack the choco. No, it's not chocos. It's
The chickens, I
no,
believe,
it's,
right?
They're called cocos.
Oh, they're all okay. They are chickens, but they're called cocos.
Yeah.
Okay. I did
Or
not
no,
know that.
cuckoos.
Cuckoos? Okay.
Cuckoos. I was getting mixed up with chocobos and the cuckoos. I'm like, chuco. Wait, that doesn't sound right.
So off the top of my head, the games I know that this song plays is
This one, of course, and then
Ocarina of
Ocarina.
Time.
Yeah.
Then it plays in Four Sword Adventures.
Mhm.
Then it plays in Wind Waker under a different name, I think.
No, I think Kakariko Village is still in Wind Waker.
Is it? Where is
Or
it?
I think it's Kakariko Island. I think the island is named after it, if I'm not mistaken.
Wait, sorry, it's Four Sword Adventure, which is the different name. It's like Blue something.
Blue Maiden.
Blue Maiden Village.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, they wanted to change it.
That still was like one of the better games, despite its awkwardness.
And though I haven't played it, I assume it's in Twilight Princess.
You know, I don't recall. I got very far in it, but it's been very many years.
Yeah, it's been a while since I last played Twilight Princess.
I was
and I can't
probably
remember.
in middle school still.
All right. So I'm going to skip ahead 2 songs because, on the contrary of this being a very relaxing and soothing song, you have the Soldiers of Kakariko Village, which is what plays whenever you talk to a villager who hates you, and they'll call the guards on you, and it drastically changes, and then you have to leave the entire village if you want the villagers to come back out. So even though it's a safe haven, like the Sanctuary, it's a lie.
Yeah, there's still a sense of like urgency within the song. It just changes from something or a place you feel safe to
Get the hell out of here.
yeah. It's like GTA. Oh, we got to drop all these stars.
But to go right into the guessing game house, which is just gambling, the song is frantic and really reflects the mood of when you just throw your money away in hopes to win more.
Yeah, it's pretty much chaotic. Sounds rushed. Like, not that the song sounds like when it was made itself was rushed. It's just the tempo feels like everywhere.
It doesn't.
Personally, I don't really like this song.
It doesn't settle. It serves its purpose.
I guess.
Yeah, that's exactly what it does. It
Yeah,
serves its purpose,
it's-
but it's not like really an enjoyable song to listen
Yeah.
to.
But I wouldn't think of gambling when I think of this song, if I'm to be perfectly honest.
Was gambling ever really enjoyable though?
Yes.
Yeah.
It can be, but
It's an addiction.
an addiction.
Please help.
Yeah.
And the next song is The Fortune Teller. Now, talking about throwing your money away, this NPC serves no purpose in the game except to just waste your money. They'll tell you something really stupid and vague and say tee hee ha ha and laugh.
Is this the despair that you feel after you spend money on the?
Yes.
Yeah, at the very beginning, where it just dun, 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 it just sounds like Zelda, and then when you have like these little twinkly star sounds, it feels so much like the original Metroid, or like Metroid or Super Metroid.
What I think about when I listen to the song is just avant-garde, because it's just very non-structured. It's probably more structured than
I mean,
most
clearly they
avant-garde.
let someone's kid write this song.
It's No Mansion Basement, at least. But that's for another time.
But we'll be going into the dark dungeons.
Dank.
Dank
Dungeons.
Dungeons.
No, it's dark.
Dank.
Dank Dungeons. I got it written down, see it? Dank.
I got this dark dungeon.
You mislabeled it. The playlist I'm looking at says dank.
Well, okay, maybe there's something that makes it dank, all right?
It's the water sound effect. So this next one, Dank Dungeons, it plays in any like sub dungeon where it's not its own its own dungeon.
Just anything
And it's just-
underground.
Yeah, just sewer that takes like
So I'm really curious about this song. Is that supposed to be part of the soundtrack with
Yes.
the Splish Splash?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's part of the song.
That just seems weird. Like I guess that makes sense, but
Yeah,
it
it's
just
dank. It's good splashed around.
that's where the dank comes from.
Otherwise, the song would just be called Dungeon.
But where's the weeds, man? That's what makes it dank.
There's not a lot going on in this song.
Yeah, I mean it sounds similar to the dungeon themes in Link's Awakening, which I mean it's the same Link, just in a later game.
Is it?
From A Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, then Oracle of Seas and Ages. It's the same Link. And then they were supposed to have one other Oracle game, which was supposed to like tie those the other Oracle games together, but they never did it.
Didn't know that.
Today I learned.
And the next song is Lost Ancient Ruins. So this is the proper Light World dungeon theme. And this song just reeks of like the unknown. It is just horribly foreboding.
Just Doom is good. Like Dread and Doom are the words that popped in mind.
Which is kind of funny because these dungeons are a walk in the park considered or next to the Dark World dungeons. And that song is just its own thing. This is the better song, I would say for sure, but it doesn't have I would say it's overwritten for its moment.
I would say when you barely get into it, it makes the areas feel much bigger, and it kind of gives off like a little bit of sense of dread almost. And then when the song starts to pick up, and then it just starts to feel like the more regular dungeon theme that the games around this era start to have. So when it's the top-down Zelda games, they tend to have this type of musical theme to their for their dungeons, because they have something similar in Link's Awakening also, and if I remember correctly, the Oracle games.
I do not remember the music from the Oracle games. It's been almost 2 decades.
I've never touched. Well, I count on one hand how many Zelda games I've touched. I have not beaten a single one though.
Well, you're in luck. They're very easy, or at least you can get most of them on either the Wii shop, I think, still, if not the Wii U shop, because I think they share the same stores.
Okay. I need to sit down and just do it.
they're really short games, so it's not going to take a long time.
Yeah.
Well, you can also play. I mean, this game's on the Super Nintendo emulator on Switch.
Exactly, too. So get around to it someday. TM.
So and then the next song is the boss theme for the dungeons, which is Anger of the Guardians. So, as a boss theme, it's fine because it's frantic and really like sets the pace for how some of the boss fights feel. Specifically, the third one in the Death Mountain.
I mean, it starts off like with how Super Mario World was, where if you get into any of the Bowser's castles and get to the bosses, it starts with the dun dun, because you can literally throw in any Mario boss song from that thing and it starts the exact same way.
Well, it's very, to me, like in terms of boss themes, though, it's very like one-dimensional. It just has the same loop.
Yeah, it's just seems more panicky instead of like
it just always has that really high strung energy to it.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like you're fighting a strong foe. It just seems like more of like a oh my god moment.
Mm-hmm. Which I assume the boss fights are pretty high paced. Are they, or are they pretty slow?
The second one is very, very slow.
I mean, for most top-down Zelda games, I mean, they're very easy, I guess I should say, because you're very limited in movement, up, down, left, and right. So usually the boss has to move a lot, and so that's why there's a panicky feel to it. You're constantly having to move, dodge, and then you get your attack, like moment to attack, maybe like up to 3 swings, and then the boss goes back into
goes back to his usual movement. Okay.
So the next song is Great Victory, which is just a fanfare. It fits completely in line with, again, going back to Mario. I mean, it is Koji Kondo. It's the same composer, so it makes sense that it sounds similar.
You win!
Feels like victory.
I don't have anything else to add to that song.
There's really nothing to add to that song. It serves a purpose. It does that purpose.
The next on the list is The Silly Pink Rabbit. Now, this is a weird song. So this is your very first foray into the Dark World without knowing that it's the Dark World. And it has this kind of like playful feeling because of the 2 NPCs you meet, which is like a guy kicking a boulder person around.
Nothing about this song screams silly.
To me, it seems like if something would play if you're driving a car like around a racetrack.
To me, it's the little staccato, like trumpets. That makes it sound like silly.
I'm gonna have to agree with Osiris. It's pretty much another racing feel. You could probably put this in any Super Nintendo racing game for
F-Zero.
Maybe, yeah, even F-Zero, I'd say.
It would fit in, you think?
You could put it in Mario Kart, like right before you start. Because look, just give me a sec. 3, 2, 1.
The people can't hear it.
Oh. That's unfortunate.
Well, anyway, I'm just going to cut that out. So aside from being the odd man out, there's something really unique with that song is that it does a chromatic descent into a minor chord, which is very rare. Usually it just falls into whatever major scale that it's still playing in. And the next song after that is The Forest of Mystery. And Andrew here has some notes, but first... so this is the song that plays in the forest outside of Kakakera Cake Village. And it's kind of a weird song because it's another whimsical one, but...
I don't know why he's laughing.
You'll know in like a minute. But this song is kind of ill-fitting because, going through this forest is you're on your way to get the Master Sword. but the entire way you're getting mugged. So it kind of doesn't really fit.
It's too serene, or not. Maybe not serene is a good word, but too calm to be mugged all the time to it.
I mean, I feel like the song has a bit of duality to it. It has bits of, it's happy, and then it just goes into creepiness.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like there's still a sense of danger as you're going to get the Master Sword.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much the MacGuffin still has a little danger to it.
Okay.
But I also really like this song.
To add on to that, why you think it's creepy, it uses the heavily used Japanese composition method of where they use a major 7 suspended 4th chord, and then that always has this tight tension in the music, which is, I know, something you're not going to understand, but it's just something I feel like pointing out.
Well, it's like the Forest theme in Chrono Trigger, right? It's pretty much the same exact thing.
No, that doesn't.
That doesn't do that. Okay, I'm not.
It's more of a.
It's minor 7s.
Oh, minor 7s. Okay.
Yeah, they're underage.
All right, Andrew, since I know you've been wanting to talk about this song for a while now, I'll let you take the lead.
Okay, so there's this very old movie. It might be even a 70s movie. I don't know how old it is. But there's a song, I don't know what it's called, but it's from a movie called Arthur. And it's just called Arthur's Theme. And I want to show Eric what it sounds like. Just listen, just keep in mind about the melody in this.
Okay.
Just keep that in your head.
We're not editing this out, are we?
No.
Okay. Just kind of explain a little bit. We can hear the audio for the music. So I guess I can pretty much kind of give the idea of what, or I'll try to be able to convey what the similarities are.
I will be posting this on YouTube, so I will be timestamping every song that plays.
Okay.
Okay, that works.
But this is Arthur's Theme by Christopher Cross.
It's so close to matching the vocal melody.
I get it. It's just I don't find it personally funny.
It was just more of a really weird throwback.
Also, the song is kind of ridiculous.
So, what era do you feel like it sounds from?
Wait, what?
What era do you think it's from? Like, what decade?
This?
Yeah.
70s?
That might be the case.
We were thinking it was 90s at first.
The opening is really 90s sounding.
No, that screams 70s.
Okay.
Anyway, on to the next song,
Tangent done.
which is just acquiring the Master Sword, and it's called Master Sword. There's not much to say about this. It's just another victory theme.
Smells like victory.
It's also used in Ocarina of Time.
Is it?
Yeah, when you pick up the Master Sword.
Oh, well, I feel like it's got to be used in every other Zelda game, right?
I don't think so.
No?
No, because the Master Sword isn't in every Zelda game.
Which one? Well,
Every main, okay. So, very important Zelda games, the Master Sword is, the main weapon. But you have, the outliers, the Force Sword.
okay.
Oh, what is the stupid train one? There's the one where the hero of trains has a specific sword. You don't have the Master Sword in Link's Awakening for whatever reason.
Okay, so
It's
Actually,
not.
no. I'm wrong. It is the Master Sword.
How'd you get the Master Sword on an island?
You take it with you.
So I already have it.
But you put it back at the end of Link's Link to the Past.
Do you?
Yeah, in the credits.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's just the Master Sword.
Well, between the time you go put it back in, the whole game takes place. I don't know.
I mean, the original storyline for Link's Awakening was you're on an adventure, I guess, to look for Zelda. It's an awkward game because it's in a spot where nothing's really conveyed well, which is weird because, I mean, Link's Awakening has a full ending. It's Has its start, has its end, and then, like you said, at the end of the credits, sword gets put back. And then you go to Link's Awakening, and he's on a ship in the middle of the ocean, going who knows where. And then you got Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages, where he's just traveling on the road. So it's like there's no correlation, even though it's the same Link going on the same adventure.
Timelines are weird.
I remember when they officially posted the timeline for Zelda, and it confused me so much. Just timelines. That's essentially what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, I think they only did the timeline thing because people wanted to know when it happened compared to like the other games. So it's just like, well, we'll try to fit these all together. Because, I mean, I don't think they really thought, oh, this is going to be the same dude that saved Hyrule from the threat of... What's the anagram for Ganon?
Agamemnon.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a jumbled mess story-wise. But, I mean, they're mostly supposed to be standalone games anyways.
I think it's kind of like, I guess, Final Fantasy, where each one was supposed to be its own standalone.
Until the later years when they started saying, like, okay, anything with a crystal, that's the same universe.
I think technically now they are all the same universe.
Who knows, man? 14 throws everything out of whack.
14?
14, the MMO.
Is it just because there's so much pulled from all the other games?
Yep.
I mean, that one could probably just be taken as its own dimension.
Well, then
Who knows?
which dimension is true and which are not? I don't know. It gets very like Marvel-esque in that aspect.
Yeah, I don't think that's a can of worms we want to open up.
No, I barely know anything about that anyways.
But we'll just continue moving on. The next song that gets played, or at least within the order, is Priest of the Dark Order.
And that's pretty much just Ganon's theme.
Yeah, dark thing.
And dear Lord, the name of the song is so edgy. It's funny.
It's not as bad as Ozzy Osbourne coming up in a little bit.
But it's like, it's the Priest of the Dark Order.
I feel like since the game itself is so old, it can get away with some of like the...
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's funny because it establishes something that gets used later on, which is now found as edgy. So you won't find songs with this type of name to it.
Exactly.
The funny thing is, like, you know, there's that whole system in Japan, like the whole Chunibyo thing.
Oh, yeah.
What is this thing?
Basically, it's like middle schooler syndrome.
Oh.
And then it's also just part of a really bad system of translating stuff from like the 90s and pretty much like pre-2006.
It's like literally translating like people's moves. It's literally like moon dagger stab.
Yep.
Or something silly. But it sounds cool because we don't have that deeper meaning.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you don't need to have a deeper meaning, but I mean,
No.
it explains what later becomes Ganon anyways. It's the evil dude. It's like it's his
the
song.
big bad.
The evil dude.
Yeah, it's the evil dude. You have the evil dude and you have his evil song.
Good enough for me.
Yeah.
The next song is The Dark World, and boy, this song is pretty great. This was probably one of the first video game songs I ever got into. So, as the title implies, it plays when you're in the Dark World, and it's the new Overworld theme instead of Hyrule Field theme.
It just clicked with me right now. It's like, oh, I've heard this before.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, it's the Hyrule theme for like is it all the other games pretty much after this, or
No.
it just picks and chooses?
I think this is only, from what I remember, this is used in
Four Swords.
Four Swords.
Which is like a offshoot of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is during like a snow song, isn't it?
Yeah, I just showed it to you yesterday.
Yeah, that's right. It's very weird. Like, it doesn't fit like snow. This fits more for like a mountainous terrain, I'd say, but I mean, even then, it still has that marchy feel that the original Hyrule Field has.
So this song, I'd say, definitely serves its purpose. Like, the game gets harder by like threefold.
So the Dark World, is it like another plane or is it the same area?
It's the same area in a different timeline.
Okay, so like pretty much.
Which is weird because you're already in the dark timeline.
So I guess it's the future of that timeline.
So basically, the way it works is that in the original like Light World, it's Ganon is taking the steps to controlling the world, and then in the Dark World, Ganon has the Triforce.
Okay.
Yeah, it pretty much goes in the hero's downfall storyline when Link loses to Ganondorf, and he obviously already had Zelda in Ocarina of Time, so he just gets both of their Triforce pieces, I should say.
That is very convoluted.
It goes back to the whole timeline thing.
Yeah, but this is coming from someone who hasn't beaten a Zelda game before. So
another thing I wanted to mention about that song is when this song was brought to Super Smash Bros. Brawl, I was hype. Like, my life has been made until I heard it. And then I hated it because it went like really soft. Like,
and it also got put on the worst map. The Bridge of Eden.
Is that literally?
I hate that level.
That's just a long bridge, right? That falls once in a while.
Yep.
Yeah, where the
pig runs across it.
Yeah, and then that one dude drops a bomb and it just blows up the middle.
Yeah, that's a very plain map. Yeah, that's all I remember from it.
It sucks, and then it's like you just have a hole. It's like, all right, cool. So you got the left side and you got the right side. It's a really sucky map.
Maps aside, it took me a long time to actually get used to that particular song, and I do like it, but I think I wish they went more what they did with Death Mountain.
What, like just go hard in on the song?
Exactly, because like they're both bombastic, super fantastic.
I mean, they just turned it into a Spanish song in Brawl.
It's not Spanish.
It sounds Spanish. With the was it the violin or the guitar? Anything you wanted to add to the Dark World thing?
Dark World? The only thing I have is that it's another adventure song, but it's also another march, but I think that was brought up already.
All right, and the song after that would just be Black Mist. Mist, not Black Mists.
So this is also known as Death Mountain and the Forest or something like that. And this song is the Imperial March.
Mm-hmm.
I never realized it as a kid, but when someone pointed it out to me a few years ago, it's undeniably the Imperial March.
Oh, yeah.
It even has a like Swan Lake cadence that some Star Wars song also has. Do you know what I'm talking about, Eric?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
But this is the song I was talking about where it's like really bombastic and in your face. So I wish they had a more hard version, I guess.
It wants it to go hard. But the song gives that feeling of it being dangerous. I mean, the name is Black Mists, which could probably be something like either
Miasma.
Miasma or even volcanic ash. Both very dangerous. And Death Mountain usually is like one of the worst places to traverse since, it's a volcano.
I do like the because it's obviously a march, but it moves from the march itself, then the lead will come in, and it's kind of like opposite. It's like hopeful in a way.
Yeah, it does the reverse of being a slightly hopeful song that goes into foreboding to a foreboding song that gives a slight hopefulness. Mm-hmm. This is where the game starts to transition from being a very dark, nothing good is happening to we're almost there. Like the light is at the end of the tunnel.
How long is the game to beat?
Well, depends. Like speed runs, 100%. It could be like 3.5 hours.
Oh.
But if you want to take your time,
you can probably beat it in easily a week, less.
Is that like playing it straight, like each day?
I mean, depends. But okay, let's say you put it in like 2 to 3 hours a day. You'll probably beat it in like less than a week.
Okay.
It's not complex. If you're trying to 100% 100% it without a guide, it's going to be difficult.
Oh yeah. Any old Zelda game without a guide is torture.
Mm-hmm.
I'm bound to get stuck in like the first level.
I feel like Majora's Mask is the only one that you really need a guide.
Well, even the new one holds your hand enough to get you through it at least.
No, that game is hard if you don't pay attention to everything, and if you skip a lot on whether it's on accident or on purpose, it's gonna mess you up, and you're not gonna know what to do.
That's another one I should sit sit and beat.
And the next song is The Dungeon of Shadows, which is kind of grating.
More of that staccato.
It's all staccato.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a rare song because the melody actually lies in the bass of the song, which is pretty rare. Off the top of my head, I can only think of another song that does that. Is one of the Kefka's songs from Final Fantasy VI.
How did I do that? I have it actually down as Dank Dungeons theme on here, but not on
There's nothing dank about it.
Yeah, I mean, all I really have as a footnote is it pretty much sounds like it, with mainly the staccato, as you said. But it's dungeony. It's not great, but
This is a song I feel that should have been the Light World Dungeons, and then the Light World Dungeons should have been the Dark World Dungeons, because you hear that way more, and there's more to it.
yeah, I feel like that since it needs to be the second or latter half of the game, the fact that this is the dungeon theme, not that great, at least in comparison. And the dungeons are supposed to be harder, so you would figure you would use the scarier one for the Dark World themes. And this one doesn't make me like feel spoopy or anything. It's just like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
we're just gonna run around.
Like, the only thing I can say over the other one is that it feels more sinister, but even then, it's too basic.
Yeah, I guess it would feel more basic to it.
And the next song is Meeting the Maidens, which is just Zelda's Lullaby again.
With fairy sounds.
Pretty much. That's pretty much the way I describe it. When I was listening to it before, it's like it feels like a fuller version of it.
I wouldn't even say fuller. I would say it's just they put like some fairy glitter and they just called it a day.
Yeah. This is arpeggios, kind of fill it out some more.
So in the defense of this song, so this plays when you rescue every other maiden in the Dark World. And then those arpeggios do add onto it because it varies up the notes, creating a different color versus just basic strings.
It feels like a more rewarding version of Zelda's Lullaby to me.
Yeah,
Which makes sense because you're achieving.
I mean, yeah, you're
goal.
achieving, but I feel like
You don't think it's enough to warrant that.
yeah,
feeling.
I don't feel like it's enough to warrant it just being like, oh, it's a step up. Like it feels like there's not much being added. You're just adding one more sound file, and that's pretty much it.
Okay.
After that, we have The Goddess Appears, which again is just the Fairy Fountain theme and file select theme.
So, is there any difference? It just doesn't have the little intro at the start of it, or
Yeah, I think that's pretty much just
that's the distinction.
yeah. It's the same fairy music.
When you have very limited cartridge space,
You have to
reuse
reuse.
songs. So
Yeah, I think
it's
the
forgivable.
the total song count is like what?
31.
Yeah, so
And most of
And
them
that's
are
including
less.
soundtracks.
That's less than. Most of them are less than a minute, right?
well, you have some that go around like a minute to
Yeah.
1:30, and then you have the little jingles that are like
8
10 to
seconds.
20 seconds. At
Yeah.
most.
So it's forgivable that this game has a short track list as well as being short loops.
Yeah. Plus, the soundtrack usually eats up a good chunk of cartridge space, anyways.
So there's really nothing else to say about that. I'm just going to skip the release of Ganon.
More of a sound effect than a song.
It's yeah, pretty much. It's more like he's here.
Now, Ganon's message. This is a little bit of a reprise on Priest of the Dark Order. it adds just a little bit more, I think, in the bass. And then this is what became pretty much like Ganon's prelude in the following games, like Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the Evil Dudes theme,
Yep.
except eviler.
So the song title is Ganon's Message. Does this play while he's talking?
Yep,
or
he's
saying something?
monologuing at you.
Okay. And this,
Little video game monologues.
I assume he monologues and he disappears and you have to go find him again?
No, he teleports to the next room.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So he's a dick, but he's not that much of a dick. And then the next song, which is a little bit more to talk about. So Ozzy Osbourne, also known as the Prince of Darkness. This song is an 11/8, which Ocarina of Time took a page out of and made it even more difficult, which I think it was like 23/16 or something.
I don't even know how you would begin.
Also, they use again, this is the second song that uses Metroid sounds.
It is a Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's gonna be a limitation to it, but the fact that you have like some Metroid in there.
This song actually has some Kirby parts in it as well, just from a writing standpoint.
Nintendo just thought like, well, we got this from this song, we got this from this song. Let's just throw it in there.
The first time I played Mario 64, this is a bit of a tangent, but I was super surprised at how similar it sounded to Ocarina of Time, and it finally occurred to me, like, oh, sound fonts. Pretty much all the sounds or music from the games kind of meld into each other.
If you listen to any like Super Nintendo soundtrack, or just if you listen to a number of them, you'll find that there's like maybe 5 to 6 sound fonts in total.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be a lot of crossover.
Yeah, but that song, to me, is the definitive boss theme of the game.
Yeah,
There's
it's,
some
it's
variation.
an actual satisfying boss theme.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because it's the final one.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope so because, you know, the final boss usually has to have the most standout music, and the other boss theme's pretty lackluster.
And then after that is the Power of the Gods.
Which is weird since the entire backstory of Zelda is the goddess is. There's never been a god.
I think this is back when there was... Well, this was during like the worst translation. Because a lot of machine translators still refuse to like change gender. Like based on like what they're talking about. So you'll always get these errors.
I mean, the song itself, though, it feels relieving.
Yeah,
Like-
you just killed Ganon, the biggest
like
evil.
you beat the fucking Prince of Darkness. It's just like the weight of the world is off your hands or off your shoulders.
But even then, there's
Yeah.
just this hint of bittersweetness to it.
Yeah, because you've lost a lot up to this point. I mean, the unnamed uncle. I think the King of Hyrule is dead.
Yep. No, he's not.
You're not?
He's in the ending cutscene.
Oh. And then I don't even think because when you save Zelda, are you in Dark World?
Yes.
But does Dark World stay saved, or does it just stay as the bad?
Timelines.
I believe you just transport back to the light world.
So you pretty much eliminate an entire timeline.
Yep. Link don't care.
Link just destroyed an entire multiverse.
Second to last song is the epilogue, also known as Beautiful Hyrule. So this is a song that plays like...
In Dragon Quest?
So this is like the pre-credits.
That you can't tell me that beginning to that song is not Dragon Quest.
No, it is incredibly generic. It's the same thing with the Final Fantasy main theme. But for the rest of the song, this song I would definitely call bittersweet. So like the very first like intro of it is heroic and like happy, but as soon as you get like a little further into it, it becomes kind of melancholic. It's like you won, but it's like you're still in the bad timeline.
Mm-hmm. At what cost as well?
I mean, it's more of like a recovery period kind of thing, where it's like, yeah, it's
uncomfortable, but
I would say really uncomfortable. I would say there's still danger, but you've at least stopped like the biggest threat. Because I mean, technically, Twin Rova is still alive in this timeline,
That's true.
which is why they appear in Oracle of Ages and Seasons.
I just think of the ending of Star Wars 4.
Yeah,
That's really what
that's
it comes
what I
down
think
to.
of too.
Imperial March is in here, so it's not far fetched.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, no, I just think of like after they destroyed the Death Star and everybody's like all lined up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Imperial March doesn't play at that point though.
No. But I'm saying that's Death Mountain.
Oh,
Because
He's
that
saying that
song
it's
is
in
in the
there.
game.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
not
okay,
a stretch.
I get what you meant.
Also, as a kid, I slept on this song pretty hard. It wasn't until I started listening to the full soundtrack for this episode that I really noticed it.
It was a sleeper for you.
Yeah, for 23 years.
It's a long time. And a long song.
Yeah, it is.
4 minutes. All right. And the final song, which is the staff roll.
Which is, I mean, it's not really happy, but it's not quite sad.
It's like say goodbye.
Yeah, it's
It's that feeling.
like a bittersweet goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
This feels really in line with the ending of Super Mario 2. And Super Mario World.
I don't even remember the endings for those.
No, I can't say I do either.
So those are more upbeat, but they're still this kind of like somber, like goodbye, even though those are much happier games. So I feel like this is more on like Koji Kondo's level of just writing, here's a farewell song.
Which I feel like not many games these days have that type of farewell to them anymore. It's more of a, it's like you beat the game. Okay, here's like the theme of the entire game being played again, just kind of like as a reprise.
And that's
then-
it.
Yes, that's it. It's more like they just play it more like a movie credits instead of like, hey, you know what? You beat the game. Like you took this entire journey with everybody or with the character or characters that you played with. And I mean, this song's not that great, but it's not bad. But I like it for the fact it has a bit of emotion to it.
Mm-hmm.
The song reprises the Hyrule
yes, of
Field
course.
theme.
Oh yeah.
I forgot about that.
I mean, wouldn't you just call that the Zelda theme though?
I mean,
It
there's so many.
is.
There's so many iconic Zelda themes, though. Like to call one the definitive.
Yeah, but I would say the classic dun 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 dun
Yeah,
is
well-
the Legend of Zelda theme.
I guess that was in the first one too. Like it was the overworld, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So I guess it
was
could
in
be
the
called
overworld,
the
and
Zelda theme.
I can't remember what the title screen had.
Nothing. It was silent.
You're silent. Just the beeps for moving the cursor, I assume, pressing start.
Oh yeah, that's right. And then it just starts, and you're in Hyrule.
Mm-hmm. You're just standing in the middle of the field, just hanging out.
It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
You gave us children a sword.
Well, you guys ready for the next part?
Of course.
Let's do it.
So this is going to be the B section of every episode where we pick a song each. It doesn't have to be from the game we're talking about. It just has to be a video game song in its original form. And then what we're going to do is pretty much what we're doing with the first part. But if there's like more intricacies to like stuff you notice, things you know about the song, what the game itself or the song itself means to you in the game, is kind of a deep dive on the emotional aspect of the song. I figured I'd pick a weird one because I know neither my co-host or my guest knows the song. Okay, so the first song that I'm picking is Hot Snowscape from Senran Kagura. That is a really weird pick, I know. But I like the song a lot.
I will let it be known that I've never played a Senran Kagura game.
I only know what it is. I've never touched one either.
Big booby ninjas.
That's
That's
essentially
the whole
it.
game.
How far can you stretch that idea into a game, though? Like, is it?
I mean, how many games do they have that isn't a main series game, which is like I think there's one that's volleyball?
No.
Or no, I'm thinking
You're
Dead or
thinking of
Alive,
Dead or Alive, yeah.
which is the same concept.
It's like the
Booby
booby
ninjas.
beach game. Which I thought that was what Dead or Alive games were, because I only heard about that beach game.
I mean, the beach game was infamous.
Mm-hmm.
And I would think it was because of G4, if anything. But anyways, back to your song.
Tangents, yeah.
So this song plays in Estival Versus, which is the first beach one. Or is it a beach one?
Sounds beachy.
This is not a beach. It's no, it's a regular game, I think. Anyways, point is, it plays in a snowy level. Like, it's very Christmas themed. There's a giant Christmas tree in the middle of it. There's like crystal or ice palaces. There's like presents and snowmen. And of course, the main goal is you're ripping each other's clothes off.
I thought we were trying to build a snowman.
But the reason I picked this song is because that soundtrack, sorry to say, has a lot of junk filler. So when a song sticks out in that kind of game,
It really sticks out.
It means something. So this one is very electronic focused.
Mm-hmm.
And it has like the kind of jazzy Rhodes piano. And then there's it's just the A section. And then the B section is like changes feel a little bit. Still has the same instruments and everything. But overall, the song is melancholic. And it uses a bunch of seventh chord, which is why I like it. And then again, like the main point as to why I like it so much for what it is because like it's somber. And then it's a good song in a Senran and Kagura game. Like, that's a weird barrier. So I like it.
Would you say it's the Senran Kagura song?
No, it is not reflective whatsoever as like Senran and Kagura as a whole.
Well, would you say it's like, I'm saying is like the best song of the series? Like, what
To
you've
me,
played?
yes.
Okay.
There are some actually like really good ones, but this is the one that stuck out to me the most.
This is a side game, isn't it?
No,
Or it's a main game?
it's a main game, but it's presented like a side game.
That sounds very confusing.
I know.
It's
So?
like here's the main game, but this isn't the main game. This is the side game where you rip people's clothes off.
So Senran Kagura is not the game that you rip each other's clothes off? That's not the main game?
It is.
But this is a side game of that type of game.
So this is a mainline game, but the premise is always that.
Okay.
So the whole premise is that you're ninjas fighting each other, but because it's Senran and Kagura, you rip each other's clothes off, and that's how they lose.
Oh no, I'm near naked. I have lost all my power.
So Eric, if you will, give your thoughts on this song.
I mean, it's good. It reminds me of a couple other songs, mostly Sega songs, for like say Knights. Heck, this is gonna be a very specific one, like the opening, or no, the team select for Sonic Heroes. It just has that same feel to it, even though neither of those are really like Christmassy.
I mean, I get the Knights. I remember that one small section in Sonic Adventure 1 in the casino. And like, yeah, I get that. But as for the Sonic Adventure, or not, the
That's
Sonic
probably-
Racing,
That's probably a poor choice because that's a snow level, I think.
is it?
Yeah. There's like one part that's like a bunch of greenery because in the casino part, just kind of side note it for a little bit before we go back to the main topic. Pretty much as you go in the pinball and it gets like stuck in one of the, it goes through a tunnel pretty much, and through that tunnel you just like see knights flying around. You see little cherubim, I think they're called, the little baby angels.
Yeah.
And then you see like a bunch of forest, and then I think it's like a snowy area.
Well, that makes sense.
So I might be misremembering that. So
Andrew.
So, I don't have very many games that I can tell, like, this is like this game song or this game song, but already it's like the game it makes me think of is Honey Pop. I don't know why.
Another pervy game.
Yeah, exactly. But it just seems like a very good backdrop for. It doesn't take the focus of what you're doing off of what you're doing. It's just a. How do I put it? Atmospheric song to me. Like, it doesn't have very much melodic drive to it.
I would agree.
I mean, yeah, it's background music.
Yeah. But I don't have.
Yeah, there's really not much.
I don't have very good comparison to other stuff like it.
So what you described is a soundscape.
Soundscape, that would be a good way to put it, yeah.
All right. So the next song we'll be talking about is Eric's choice.
So my choice is going to be Never Surrender from Devil May Cry 4. Personally, one of my favorite songs, mainly because I have this weird love of Capcom games, and it just happens to be Capcom, whether I even notice it or not. But I mean, I got into Devil May Cry when I was, I think, middle school, and then got 4, heard the beginning song, instantly fell in love with. It's just a song that resonated with me. But I would say this song, or even this game, just like ate up a lot of my high school days. If it's not like something when I was on the computer, I was playing the heck out of Devil May Cry 4. So this song gives a lot of memories of my high school years. But I mean, even the feel of the song itself, it's just the main theme as well as the battle theme. But of course, the second half of the song represents the church aspect of the or of this specific game, which I actually really love. I don't know if I would say enhances it, but or even just changes it up so much that it feels like it's 2 songs in one.
I have to say, this is a great choice. I was also, I think, in middle school. This is the first game I played from beginning to end. That was Devil May Cry. And it's very much, I don't know, the only time I've ever listened to any sort of industrial was Devil May Cry. Any other stuff I've tried, it's just like, it's not the same. It just doesn't quite scratch the itch. One thing I love about like these songs too is I'm a very big fan of like changing the song as it goes.
Yeah, I like I like natural progression. So if there's no more room for the original part of the song to keep going, then just changing it up to something else.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the way this song changes it up is really stand out. Like, it stands out to me. And personally, I always sing this song in the car whenever I get a chance.
You may think it's embarrassing, but we all do it.
Oh, I don't think.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's embarrassing at all. You like sing it loudly. I mean, the windows are rolled up, but
So, I've never played Devil May Cry any time in my life.
not
Or
yet,
I'm-
at least.
That surprises me.
I may have played the demo, like on one of those like PlayStation monthly magazines forever ago. But beyond that, I've never touched one. I've seen you speedrun it twice now.
Yes, both successfully and unsuccessfully.
And I forgot who it was at a GDQ. So my exposure to them is pretty limited too. Although, so I heard this song for the first time last week. And I have really nothing to say about the first half of the song. It's very industrial. It's like, that's just what industrial is to me. But it's this part, which I find funny, kind of, because like, when did Devil May Cry 4 come out? Like 2006, 7?
2007 for the Xbox and PS3.
So, this is going to be like a very niche comment, I feel like this song, specifically the second half, is very in line with like the early to mid 2000s of like Japanese writing, where like they have talking in the song, but it's always like a man and then a woman. And an example you may or may not remember is, do you remember Dark Black Forest from DDR?
Yeah.
Max.
Yeah,
It
I
reminds
remember
me
that game.
heavily of that song. As cheesy as that song is,
It's the dark black forest.
but I do like the second half way more than the first half. Probably because it's like the dichotomy.
It's so different from the first half. I could see it, the second half being like, if you don't know what Devil May Cry is, never touched the game, you listen to the second half, you're just going to be like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, it's definitely different, especially if you listen to the other songs in the series.
And you said it was the same singer as Devil's Never Cry from
Yeah,
number 3?
it's the dude that sings Devils Never Cry. He was the singer for the songs for 3 and 4.
Okay.
And unfortunately, they didn't bring him back for 5.
That's a rip.
Instead, they used... what was that band? They ended up changing it because of the bad rap the singer had. I mean, not only that, it sounded really bad.
What was the bad rap?
I think it was sexual harassment or sexual misconduct.
Yeah, it could be bad.
Yeah, I just can't remember the name of the band off the top of my head right now.
But the music from Devil May Cry 3 is also very good. I love all, well, maybe not all the music.
I will say
but
Devil May Cry in general has really good music.
I don't remember anything from 1 or 2. It's only like 3 and 4 where I've listened to a lot of the music.
For whenever you get a chance, you should listen up. What is this song? It's Nello Angelo's theme. It's like Violet. No, it's Ultraviolet,
Okay.
which is probably the best song in that game, and is a boss theme.
My favorite boss theme of 3 is probably Cerberus, which is surprising, but let's move on.
All right, Andrew, since you're the guest, you get the honor of closing it up.
Yay. Way to end on a downer.
I mean, your pick is pretty good.
Well, my pick is Gwen's theme from Dark Souls 1. And it takes place in the final level. And what the level is it's a giant kiln, essentially. But there's not really a lot of fire. It's all ashy. Pretty much everything's like pretty much almost burnt. And it's like at the base of this kiln, there's like a little bonfire. And Gwen is in there waiting for you. And the reason I like this song so much, well, one of the reasons, Dark Souls, I started many years ago. It's one of those games where the story is not handed to you. It's a lot more obvious than some people make it, but you have to do your own step outside of the game to get, like, what the hell is happening. So, with that work, I think it causes you to be a little more invested than, like, the normal story. But where I'm getting at is that Gwen kind of represents the resistance to change. And I kind of feel that in the song. Perhaps maybe like desperation.
Okay. I mean, personally, I've never played a Dark Souls game, Dark or Demon Souls. I played at most Bloodborne. But
Which is a very good game. I need to beat it at some point.
yeah, so I mean, the progression of the song is very dark. It makes it sad. I want to smack you.
But what's more effective about the song is, so in terms of the place and the character, I think the song fits very well. It's this theme of, like, I get, like, desperation from the song. But for the rest of the soundtrack, it does not match at all. Which may be why it has such strong effect. The rest of the song, all the boss themes, are either very, very high-paced, loud, operatic, weird, which is a staple of the composer. I don't know his name off the top of my head.
Motoi Sakuraba.
Yeah. So you just step into the arena and it's just like, it catches you off guard.
Well, then, would you really consider this his theme instead of yours? Since it's more of a...
No, it is his theme.
But no, like what I'm trying to say is, since every other boss theme is pretty much hectic and fast paced, since you obviously I know the premise of Soulborne games, where you have to pretty much bob and weave and land as whatever many hits you can. I would say, this song would match up more for the player, wouldn't it? Because it's more to the player's pace. Like this is his way of trying to stop you.
Mm-hmm. Which is a good segue. So, yeah, you're either... So he's trying to keep the fire going, which is the very basis of the game. And you're either trying to get to him to restart the fire, or you can not start the fire. But then that leads into the third game, where the final boss of that game is, you don't know at the moment, but it's you.
A la Diablo 2.
Mm-hmm. Well, you get to him, and the first time you fight him, unfortunately, I knew everything. I did not have first impressions of any of this stuff, which is unfortunate. But you start fighting him, he'll start cycling through playstyles, like different weapon sets, and it's very surprising. But you get his first health bar down, and then those three notes that play, and it's Gwen again. Like he starts fighting, and it's very... To a lot of people, very emotional, especially when they first hear it.
Yeah, I can definitely get that with with how some people get invested with those.
Some
words.
people, it's amazing how much the community loves this game. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's not as simple as why if it's hard, people will enjoy it more. I'm not sure.
I feel like on that note, it's kind of like a journey of growing with it.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be good at it right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to spend so much time just getting better. So you spend more time with it. And then it's kind of like you grew up together.
Mm-hmm. And that's when I first played it, I was so bad. It was probably my first classic gaming experience where, you play Mario, you have a limited number of lives. You play this, you don't, you die. Like, you get punished. This was in high school. This is the first game I played that actually punished you severely. I played a lot of Call of Duty, where it doesn't, you get jelly on your screen.
Yeah.
But you just wipe it away and then you go back to normal.
It's more of an inconvenience versus damn, it's more of a...
you have to play the game by its rules and not yours. Which there are glitches and things like that you can take advantage of. But that's beside the point.
So, on my end, I covered this song. It's okay.
It's the Dark Souls of piano songs, though.
Aside from the musical aspect of it, or the musician aspect of it, it's a very emotional song. I've only played up to 2 hours worth of Dark Souls 1, so I wasn't even anywhere near this fight. But just hearing this song, thanks to Andrew, over and over, I've been heavily exposed to it. And I can agree that just without any context is emotional. And then I know most of the stuff for the game is very dramatic and gothic. Sometimes not.
Sometimes not. Some songs still are the outliers. I think the only other song that's not a boss theme is an area theme, and it's very laid back. But it's soundscape. Anyways, continue.
the song definitely gets me interested.
It's a good game. I'd say it's a worthwhile adventure. You don't have to do what I did, where I sat and platinumed each games in order. I don't recommend that.
I'm not the platinuming type of person. I play a game to enjoy it, and if I like playing or doing the harder stuff, I will.
What are your thoughts on the song?
That's pretty much it. I said my thoughts earlier.
Okay. So that seems to do it for the first episode,
First official.
first official
Official.
episode of VGOSTRAM, which, as we didn't say before, stands for Video Games Original Soundtrack Review and More. And that's what we do. We talk about the video game songs, and then we go into tangents.
That's what we do.
That's
Sometimes
the
a
more.
little too far.
Oh, of course, but
Any last finishing thoughts?
No. Other than glad we can have Andrew here.
hi.
It was definitely a treat to have him, especially for our first episode. Obviously looking forward to do more and doing more deep dives into other songs.
Yeah, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on you, Andrew won't be here for a very long time. So it'll just be me and Eric.
Yeah.
You know, I'm the star of the show.
I mean, we don't know. Maybe we could do something through Discord, or if you choose to come down a little more often, or
Maybe.
afford to. But
But what's good about this format, what's great about it, is that there's literally an ocean of material
yeah,
to look
It's
through, and so
ever
many.
expanding.
I mean, you have people recommend songs from outside, and you probably should do like first listens on the show if you can. That'd be kind of interesting. A lot of work though.
I think that would be easier.
These are just first impressions.
Yeah, easier first impressions. But yeah, that's definitely something we could think about doing later on. I think we want to kind of establish the main thing first before we get ahead of ourselves.
Well, anyway,
Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank
and,
you.
We will see you next time in 2 weeks.
boy.
Bye-bye.
So long.